Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Viking Voice. My name is Wazo and I am talking about tips and tricks to help you overcome your performance anxiety. So this is actually part 2 of a video I just did talking about fear and confronting your fears and feeling fear. If you do have a performance situation coming up where you're feeling absolutely terrified, there is a reason why you do feel terrified. Listen to the previous video if you haven't already. This video now is just talking about legitimate steps that you can take that will help you to start overcoming your fear. So first of all, I said in my previous video that the number one thing you have to do is, in order to overcome the fear, you have to start facing it. Now, it doesn't mean doing the scariest thing that you can think of all at once, not like I did. I just kind of flipped a switch and just was like, I've had enough! And I just literally dove off into the deep end and just did it. If you do that, great. Like, literally you don't think anymore, you just do it. You're like, I don't care what happens, take me. Yeah, that was my situation. But for a lot of people that doesn't happen that way. There are smaller steps you can take to start overcoming your fear. This is like quite a process. I actually wrote some points down, so if I'm reading, like, I apologize. Yeah, that's right. When you start overcoming a fear, just break it down into smaller steps. So I would encourage you to write what it is you're afraid of, whether it's an upcoming performance, let's say, a performance, exam, audition, competition, whatever it is. You have to give a speech, anything, okay? Or perform in front of your class, or do a video, or presentation, you get it, okay? So write down this thing that scares you. Or it could be a much broader thing. It doesn't have to be specific. Like, I have a fear of performing in public. And you know, that was my biggest fear. That's the one thing that's stopping you from literally feeling freedom. Because that's what we want, guys. We want to be free. We want to be free of our anxiety. But the thought of actually overcoming it seems like such a huge mountain to climb that most of us don't do it. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I ran away from music for 10 years. Then it came back to bite me in the ass, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I can't run away. I have to face it. So, all right. So first things first, write it down, okay? Then what I want you to do is literally break it down into small sections. What are some small practical steps, and I mean really small, practical steps that you can take to start making yourself feel better about the situation, all right? That means still confronting the fear. So say, I just give this example, okay? Say there's this person that's really afraid of going outside, okay? They're really afraid, especially now because it's COVID-19 and the world's gone crazy and everything, of actually like going outside their front door because they think, oh, I'm going to catch the virus. Okay, so they spend all their time locked inside, and that's what fear does to you. It limits your existence, okay? So what's obviously going outside is, they're not just going to go for, an hour walk outside, because going outside is a huge deal to them. What they could do to break it down is literally, depending on their level of anxiety, the first step they could take is just like opening the front door and having the front door open for 2 minutes or even like 30 seconds. Yeah? And then, okay, that's done. The next day, they keep the door open for 5 minutes. Okay? And then maybe open the windows. All right. Then the next day, they actually take one step outside their front door and they stand there for 30 seconds, and it's going to be awful to them. This is a person that stays inside all the time because they're afraid of being outside. But they're taking, literally bit by bit. It's like, imagine a ladder, okay? It's the ladder approach, that literally the bottom rung on the ladder, and you just work your way up, okay? Bit by bit by bit, step by step by step. So once they've spent those, 30 seconds outdoors, just outside their front door, they're like, okay, that's enough. Literally every time they push their boundaries just that little bit more. So from 30 seconds outside, they'll stand outside their door for 5 minutes. Then once they've done that, I don't know, they might actually walk to the end of their street and come back. All right. But every time they're going to feel that fear, it's going to be really, really horrible. Yeah, it's going to be absolutely terrifying. But the thought of actually even just walking outside, even a week ago, they couldn't have done. But because they've done it in small steps, to eventually, the steps obviously over time will just increase to the point where then the hope is eventually, if they do it enough, they're training their brain to show that they're safe, that they're not going to die. They might be able to actually go outside and live a relatively normal life, you know? But they have to work their way up to that process. You can't just like throw them outside and lock them out of their house and hope that they're going to feel better. Of course, that's actually just going to like terrify them even more. And I think that was kind of the mistake that, you know, I thought, unfortunately, like I did competitions and stuff, and the more I did, the worse I felt, because I wasn't ready for them. Mentally, I just wasn't ready for them. And because I had totally the wrong idea in mind, I thought I've got to win. And if I didn't even get on the board, I would just be like, this sucks, I suck. I looked at it in completely the wrong way. And every time I did a competition and that I didn't get a result, or I, you know, didn't get on the board, I would literally just reaffirm that I was crap. Okay? So instead of actually saying, you know, Voiseau, you actually went up there, you confronted a fear, and telling yourself every time you go up there, you confront a fear, you're telling your brain, your survival instinct, that you're safe, that you're not going to die. You are literally showing yourself. You can listen to all these videos you want, but until you actually start taking the practical steps to overcoming your fear, you're going to keep feeling it. And the problem is then it's going to keep coming up. In your everyday life, it's going to keep coming up one way or another, and you're going to do things that are either going to run away from or you're going to compensate for it. I compensated for it for 10 years. Actually, probably more than that. In my job, in my relationships, in my friendships, in the choices I made in my life, I was running away completely, right? So now this is like my experiment into what happens when you actually start taking the steps to overcome your fear. Who knows? Let's see. But already I can tell you, in 3 months since starting this channel, the changes have been significant. So back to the step process. And this is really your process, okay? Don't feel pressured to make big steps at a time. Only do what you are comfortable with, okay? Because it's already huge. So that's write it down. Then the next step is actually to do it. And to know that when you're taking those first steps and every time you're pushing the boundary, it is gonna feel really uncomfortable. So one thing that you could do if you've got an upcoming performance and you know it, you're just terrified, all right, I would practice performing before that big performance day or whatever it is, the exam or what have you. I would actually, like, you know, if you've got a pet, they start performing in front of your pet, you know, and then start opening up the doors and windows. Like, I couldn't even sing at home, rehearse with the doors and windows open. That's how terrified I was of people listening to me, you know. And then once you do that, you know, grab your parents or your brother or sister or your best friend and like perform in front of them, practice the song and feel that fear. Of course it's going to come up. For me it was huge. I couldn't even perform in front of my mum before an exam. I just didn't want to hear her listen, like have her listen to me. You know, sad, right? And I just didn't practice. And when I literally just flew off the deep end and, you know, went into a performance situation and was so completely terrified, and then just went off there feeling so crap about myself and sort of told the story in my brain that I wasn't any good and that, you know, I'm never going to overcome this fear thing. But yeah, so just know that you are on the right path already. The fact that you are here listening to this means that you want to overcome this fear. So we're doing it practically, and we're doing it. No one else should tell you what your process is. You do exactly what is comfortable for you, all right? Knowing that it is not going to be comfortable because you're pushing your boundary of fear. That is so normal. But just know this, every time you push that boundary and you take yourself out of that situation, like the situation is over, say, okay, one thing I'm going to do, like I'm doing with myself, I'm singing in public. I did a video yesterday on that. I was going for a walk. I went past this tunnel I really like that has acoustics. I wasn't planning to sing, but in that moment it was quiet. There was no one around. It was actually snowing. And it was just this beautiful moment where I was like, just go for it. And I recorded that. And there was a part of my brain that was very aware of the fear. And I, at some point, noticed my legs were shaking. And that wasn't because of the cold, you know, and just telling myself to relax my body. And so that's another thing. When you're doing it, give yourself a time frame. Say, okay, I'm going to take this step and I'm going to do it for 2 minutes. I'm going to, you know, sing in that tunnel. I'm going to do it for 2 minutes. All right. Knowing that I'm going to feel this fear. All right. It's going to be there. 2 minutes. Then it's done. And you're like, okay. So then the next time I do it, I might do it for 5 minutes. All right. You could do it. You could give yourself a time frame. All right. Put the timer on. I'm going to just go for it for 5 minutes. I'm going to let whatever feelings come up, because they have to come up. You have to go through it. You do that. Or the other thing you could do is when you're doing the thing that scares you, for me, performing, singing in public, do it until you start to feel your anxiety decreasing, because the longer you do it, the more you keep at it, and the more you're telling your brain, look, see, this is okay, this is not as bad as it seems, the better you're feeling about it. So do it until your anxiety decreases by about 50%, okay? And then eventually you keep doing that, you keep taking those steps, your anxiety will come down and down and down and down to the point where you won't even feel it anymore. And of course, every new situation is going to bring the anxiety up a little bit, but the hope is that it's just so minimal that it's the good anxiety. It's the anxiety that helps you in performance, you know, the adrenaline and the cortisol that helps you keep alive and keep vibrant. You know, that's the good stress energy, okay? Otherwise it would be dull and flat and boring, and, you know, we wouldn't want to do it because we'd be so unmotivated, yeah? So that's where the good stress comes in, but not to the point where it actually overtakes you completely. The other key to doing this is to watching yourself for a certain amount of time, all right? Really be aware. Just be very, very present when you're going through the fear. Number one, you have to acknowledge the fear. And this is a lot of advice, but you know, you can go back and watch this video. When you're taking the steps to overcome it, really be super hyper present. Be aware of the way your body feels. Greet the fear. Say hello to it. Hello, my old friend. I know you're there. It's okay. Tell yourself it's okay. You're normal. You're experiencing like the frontier here. You're going out on a limb. You're putting yourself out there. It is scary. So acknowledge that. This is your process. You will be fine. So I would say the most important part is to sit with your anxiety until you start to feel it decreasing. All right. I stayed in that tunnel yesterday. It was about 20 minutes. And every song I sang, I just could feel myself relaxing more and more and more and telling myself it's okay. Of course, there weren't really that many people around, but my goal is working myself up to doing it on my own on a weekend where there's going to be loads of people walking past, okay? And I'm not quite there yet. So I you know, so that's my process. I'm doing this basically to show you as well that it can be done. And no matter how afraid you think you are, just no matter how scared or how many years have held you back, your anxiety has held you back, you can do this. But you have to give yourself the permission to do it and to feel it. Most people don't want to feel it, so they run away from it, all right? Don't be that person, but prepare yourself, all right? Don't just throw yourself in the deep end if you've got a performance coming up. Do practice working your way up the ladder. Those small steps, you know, that seem so scary at first, but then when you keep going up and up and up, you push your boundaries, you will feel so much better. And can I just say how remarkable and how quickly you can rewire your brain to tell it that you are safe and that everything is okay, because I promise you it is. All right. Of course, I'm not telling you to go sleep with lions or do something ridiculous like jump off a building or, you know, I'm not saying that. Obviously, we have to be reasonable here. If you have a fear that's quite legit, you know, I understand. But a lot of the times our fears are just stories we tell ourselves and we buy into those stories. All right. So this is at least a practical way, hopefully, that you can start to overcome your fear, your anxiety. Take really small steps. Don't let anybody else tell you how it should be done, and just do it. Do it. And literally just imagine how you will feel afterwards. Even if it's just 2 minutes, it doesn't matter. Work your way up. Imagine how great you'll feel afterwards. I guarantee you'll feel awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then you'll keep doing it. Keep the momentum. That's the other thing. Keep the momentum. Keep pushing yourself. Keep it. If you want it bad enough, you can do it. If your passion lies on the other side of fear, like it does for me. I love singing, but I hate performing. But I have to perform if I want to sing. That's the point, right? But I have to overcome my anxiety, and I really, really want this. And I just want to get over myself. I really, really want to let this human body go and really experience the freedom that comes with really truly connecting through music in front of people and sharing that with people. This is what I want to do, and I can't do that if I'm so stressed all the time. So guys, I really hope you found that helpful. Of course, if you have any tweaks you'd like to make, please feel free. This is not a one-way system. You know, this is your system. You pick and choose what works best for you. That's really, really important to know. All right. Hope it helped. I'll see you in the next video. Have an awesome performance, and remember that you can do this. We're in this together. I believe in you. See ya.